It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Welcome to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. You know, my friends, I keep telling you that, when you put good people in office, a lot of things happen that are good. And I'm happy to report today I have one of those good politicians on the show. Certainly he's no stranger to SSP TV. His name is Dr. David Moylan, and you know him from Modern Medicine, plus Simon Kramer. Dave has been Schuylkill County Coroner for 13 years. If you recall, when he first ran, we talked about the number of things that were happening in the coroner office. How does that affect you? Some people say, I could care less about the coroner's office, until something happens that affects your life. Today we're going to talk to not only Dr. Moylan, but also Jackie Fogarty, who is the office manager, talking about some of the many things that we should be concerned about. Dr. Moylan, how are you?
I'm well, Sam. Thanks for asking. And it hardly seems possible that 12 years have passed like the blink of an eye.
You're getting old.
I resent that remark.
Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, I mean that. I got to know you, 12, 13 years ago, and when you ran for office for coroner, I asked you what you did on the show, and certainly people could go and look at the show on YouTube. But you had a number of things you wanted to accomplish, okay? You looked at it as the professional that you are. In the 13 years, 12 years, give me some of the highlights of the things you've accomplished so far.
Well, again, my campaign emphasized bringing the profession of medicine to the coroner's office. And unfortunately, most of the deaths that we investigate, probably 75 or 80%, are natural deaths. And a knowledge of internal medicine and cancer medicine is invaluable here. And I've been blessed to have as my chief deputy coroner, Dr. Joe Weber, who has been practicing internal medicine in Schuylkill County for some 45 years. And he's a gem and a great resource. I want to just introduce Jackie Fogarty. She joined the deputy force about 10 years ago, and she's been a field deputy investigating deaths on scenes and in some of the nursing homes. And we're blessed that she is now the office manager at the coroner's office in New Philadelphia. And she knows the system, and she brings a lot of attributes that are wonderful to the coroner's office. And Jackie, could you say?
Yes, it's a very busy place, never a dull moment. But like Doc said, the improvements and what this CAT scan has really improved a lot since our old one we had. The images are much crisper.
That was a new addition to
yes, it was a new addition.
Department. The county had granted us the opportunity to upgrade the equipment, and our previous CAT scanner was what they call a 4-slice, which was more than adequate for our purposes, because you don't have to contend with motion artifact or respiratory artifact. But the new machine, and again, it wasn't a brand new machine, but it's very capable. It has 16 slices. As Jackie said, the images are very crisp.
Okay, so take me through this. Why, what would be the process here? When do you use the CAT scan? Everyone who dies has to go through this CAT scan, or how is?
Everyone that comes through our office, we will.
Why would they come through your office? If someone dies in a nursing home, or if someone dies at home,
well,
or whatever.
if it's an unexpected death, or not every person that dies comes through our office.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Just be your unexpected deaths, out of the ordinary, suicides, accidents, mostly, those children. We get the inmates, nursing home residents. They'll come to our office. We will put them through the CAT scan, give them the virtual autopsy. copy those images onto an external drive for the case record. They'll be processed. That helps us to determine more what happened
Cause
with the
and manner of
decedent.
death.
And with the new CAT scan, it's a lot quicker in processing the images. Like I said, the images are much more crisper.
And that's vital for what?
Well, again, the mission of the coroner's office is to determine the cause and the manner of death. Now, of course, we do not scan every patient. When the deputy evaluates on the scene, if there's a strong cardiac history, the person had bypass surgery or had previously suffered from a stroke, no, we don't need to do CAT scans on those. We do obtain all their medical records. And again, my policy has been where it's indicated to meet with family members to review the CAT scan data, the records, and in fewer and fewer cases we've had to subject the decedent to traditional open autopsy. And I'm happy to report that in addition to Dr. Wayne Ross, who is our contract pathologist from Dauphin County, Dr. Mary Pascucci is rejoining our staff, so
Excellent
I look
person.
forward to working
Excellent.
with her.
Yeah, she's an excellent person. All right, so the thing is that if it's unexpected death or suicide, no one can touch that body until the coroner gets there. Is that correct?
That's the rule, yeah.
Okay, and why is that?
Because you could interfere with evidence from the scene. Just moving the body can introduce artifact into the evaluation. And certainly we work hand in hand with Pennsylvania State Police and the local police forces in evaluating these. So that's pretty much our protocol. Now, the other accomplishment that I'll refer to is that we started an annual forensic conference. This year it'll be middle of May, and we get coroners from all the surrounding counties, emergency medical technicians, local police officers to learn from this experience. And we have 8 hours of this continuing education, and it's proved very valuable. I think you'll remember that a year ago we had Sheriff Mark Daniels, who is the sheriff of Cochise County on the border, down there in the Mexican border. And I often see him on CNN or Fox News where he's being interviewed about what's coming across that border. And that will lead us into our next topic, which is...
Okay, let me stay on this, the point of forensics. So if the reason, what would be the reason why this CAT scan, this new innovation, or the new one you have, what would be the reason? How does that benefit the county residents?
Well, if it allows us to avoid an open autopsy, which costs upward of $3,500.
So there's where I see the savings, okay? All right. And in terms sometimes of how important a coroner is, I mentioned when I opened the show, some people, oh, it's a coroner's office, so whippy-dee, until it's a member of their family, or if there's an accident or something, sometimes there's suspicions, particularly if there's a suicide. What happened prior to that suicide? Have you found in any cases that a person who's so-called said was suicide, but maybe was assisted in suicide, or given drugs or whatever? Have you?
That would be a routine part of the evaluation, was to study toxicology in most of these suicides. We had about 36 of them last year, which is such a tragedy because they're all preventable deaths.
And these things affect insurance policies as well. I
Yes.
mean, so that's where the family is. That's why we're concerned about, do we have a coroner who knows what the hell they're doing and has their act together, okay? As I keep telling people, when you're voting for someone, make sure you check their background, et cetera, and you had to go through some nonsense, but it just, it's critical when it affects your family, and that's the whole key point there. All right, continue on, Dave. I didn't mean to.
Well, I
interrupt.
just wanted to say the main challenge that we are facing presently, and it's going to be my focus in the next 4 years, is the drug problem. And Jackie's done a little research on what the statistics are. We had 146 drug and alcohol related deaths in 2023.
What'd you find, Jackie? What do you have there?
Well, every 4.5 minutes, there is a drug overdose, a fatal drug overdose in the United States. There was more fatal drug overdoses than Afghanistan, Iraq, and the Vietnam War combined. Most of the drug overdoses had fentanyl. That was the majority of the cause with the fentanyl mixed in with the drug.
And when you had the chief, the sheriff on the show, he was talking about what we have seen there.
It's just flowing across that border.
Yeah, that could be a whole other show. Okay, I don't even want to go there because it's such a disgrace to see our American people, our citizens, being subject to things that are coming over the border that should not happen, at least in my opinion. But I don't want to become political. It's just terrible. You've seen a lot, okay, in the coroner's office. In terms of getting people, deputies, you're looking always to get, what would be the qualifications to become a deputy coroner?
One of the principal ones is an interest in the field. And we've actually had students from the local colleges who are studying criminal justice, and they seem to have a great interest in this. And EMT personnel, again, they've got the background for going to scenes and taking care of as acute responders, first responders. So actually we are actively looking for new deputies, and we'll put on the screen how they could contact us. But Schuylkill County is a huge county, and it extends all the way from Nuremberg down to Port Clinton, and from West Penn Township way out to Pine Grove. So we need the deputies that can meet this need, because you get called anytime, day or night.
Now, there's training involved, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a monthly conference where we go over the forensic science of it, and again, the annual forensic symposium that we're going to have in May is part of that training.
When we come back, we're going to talk about Title 18, okay, and talk about, what is the number one cause of death in Schuylkill County?
Again, it would be natural causes. We see a lot of
Would be
coronary
cancer,
disease.
dementia.
Cancer to a degree, dementia, yes.
Heart attack.
Heart attacks, yeah.
Okay. Folks, I'm talking to Dr. David Moylan, who is the Schuylkill County Coroner, and Jackie Fogarty, Office Manager. As I said, it's extremely important to you to know what's going on in the county of Schuylkill, but also it's an educational process as well. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 247ssptv.com. You can watch all of our neighborhood programs. And thank you for making this show the #1 talk show in Northeastern Pennsylvania. I really appreciate it. And you can watch us on Comcast 190 in the greater Pottsville area every day from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. In the Hazleton area, of course, on Cable Service Electric Cablevision, 24/7, Channel 13, and also 513. In the Wilkes-Barre market, we're Channel 92 every Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 11 p.m. And thank you very much for the Wilkes-Barre. We increased 32% in viewership in the Wilkes-Barre market. Appreciate that very much. My guest today, Dr. David Moylan. He is the Schuylkill County Coroner, no stranger to SSP TV. Has Modern Medicine. If you haven't seen the show, you're missing out on a great show. Not as good as the Sam Lesante show, but it's a good show. And joining him is Jackie Fogarty, who is the office manager at the Simon Kramer office. Okay, so what is Pennsylvania Title 18? What's that all about?
Okay, well, Sam, my mission in the next 4 years is to try to put a dent in the drug deaths that we're seeing in Schuylkill County. Again, last year we saw about 140 drug or alcohol-related deaths, and this is an epidemic. And there's nothing I can do about the Mexican border and the cartels and the Chinese manufacturing this stuff, but my focus will be in Schuylkill County. And in 1972, the state legislature in Pennsylvania came up with Title 18. And basically what that says is that a person commits a felony of the first degree if the person intentionally administers, dispenses, delivers, gives, prescribes, sells, or distributes. They don't have to sell it, they could give it as a gift. And the person that received it dies. And this was the Controlled Substance, Drug Device, and Cosmetic Act in Pennsylvania. So that's a tool that the legislature has given us to try to combat this. I'd like to refer to Singapore, the island nation that we probably remember that if you were jaywalking in Singapore, you would get caned. That would be the penalty. But in the 70s, they had a tremendous drug problem, and they solved it by coming up with the Misuse of Drug Act, and they made possession, actually, of even small quantities of illicit drugs a capital offense. So that if you had a gram of hashish or 3 ounces of marijuana, and of course the other more deadly drugs, you would pay for it with your life. And in the first couple of years where they enforced this rigorously, and the sentence would be carried out on Friday mornings as the sun was rising over Shangji prison, they'd hang you by the neck until you were dead. And the first couple of years they were hanging about 70 or 80 people a year. Now they don't have to hang anybody. So this act,
now you see, now there's a lot of wacko liberals out there. They're going to say, now is that's not humane, but I understand that. Okay,
I'm
but
not advocating it, but
no.
Title 18 is the equivalent.
It's amazing when you enforce laws the way they should be enforced. Then it cuts it down, but you have the idiot politicians, okay, that want to be heroes, okay, and we pay the price for it. But here again, that gets me on a tangent.
Well, I'm not advocating hanging these people.
No, I understand.
But,
but boy, to send a message, isn't it?
These are some of the harshest penalties in Pennsylvania. A felony of the first degree, usually it's the maximum sentence is 20 years. For this act, the Cosmetic Act, it's 40 years. And if people get off the street, that's what I'm concerned about. The little dealers, if they're basically taken off the street, it's going to cut down on the supply and demand. And I think we'll put a dent in this. Now, across Pennsylvania.
But it has to be enforced, don't you think, David?
Yes. In our county, in the 5 years ending in 2021, there were only 5 prosecutions for drug delivery resulting in death.
And how many drug deaths did you have?
Over 100.
So out of 100, there was only 5?
A year, 100
There was
a year.
only 5 prosecutions?
Yes. Now, there's one county DA in Montgomery County. He's making a name for himself. His name's Daniel Steele. And his county, in the same period, has had over 35 enforcements. So I know it's just a model. But I think this is the tool that we have to work with. And because other approaches like the drug court, I haven't seen a dent in the problem. We're, again,
No.
right in the midst of this epidemic.
Don't you think you need cooperation, though, in putting this?
It's got to be a team effort. It's got to be a team effort. But when I was preparing for today's presentation, I went on the internet, and there's legal firms, and they're advertising how to beat this rap, the drug delivery resulting in death, DDRD. How do you beat that? And there's law firms specializing in this, and what they want to do is suppress evidence, motion to suppress and have evidence thrown out, and that's one of the tools they use against law enforcement. So we are setting up a task force within the coroner's office where there'll be a special deputies that will be called on to the drug death scenes to help preserve the evidence that we'd have something prosecutable.
If you could only record the agony and sorrow and pain when you go into a home and either their son, daughter, wife, whatever, died of an overdose of drugs, and you see that, what you witness. We hear about it, but we don't think until we actually, oh my God, you see that. And that's what I think we need more of.
Sam, you're so right. And before I rule on an individual case, because the toxicologist tells us what the cause was, elevated levels of fentanyl or methamphetamine, but then I try to determine what the manner of death was.
Yes.
And I don't see this as being an accident. So I rarely consider that, but in some cases we do, where somebody might be taking prescription drugs and they get confused, and so there are cases of accidental overdose. But I want to meet with the family, and I have to share their anguish, but to determine whether or not these people were suicidal. And usually it's not even considered by the family. The gentleman just bought a new truck.
Yes.
They were working on
The pain.
A child and
Yeah, the pain.
whatever. So
What's this?
this is a picture of the Simon Kramer Cancer Institute. And at the back of the building, which is depicted here, that's where the new CAT scanner was installed, in a special shielded room, because you're dealing with radiation. But my vision over the next several years is to make this into a dedicated forensic center for our county. Now, there's surrounding counties that have thrown up these centers for $6 to $10 million. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about just an area in this building in which the public can come for counseling and evaluations, and it'll be all in one area.
Are you thinking of having either seminars or group meetings, or are you available to speak to different groups to give them this education as to what direction you want to go in the county right now?
Yes, and many of our deputies have already gone out, especially around prom time, to talk to high school students and talk to them about the problems with driving while under the influence. And it might not just be alcohol like it was in
Drugs.
the old days,
Yeah, a
but
lot of, high.
illicit drugs.
Are you still against the legalization of marijuana?
Sam, I've been practicing cancer medicine for the last 40 years, and there are enough legitimate drugs that can control anxiety and pain that I've never seen the need for it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how law enforcement and legislation don't listen to people who are involved with it. Jackie, nice to meet you, and
Thank you for
I wish you the
having me.
best. You're
Thank
working
you.
one of the best
Yes.
that are around, okay?
You're kind.
And David, it's always nice to see you. Keep up the good work on your show. I love the show. You bring a lot of interesting things there that that a lot of people should know. Anything in closing you'd like to say, David?
No, again, but we are looking for deputies, and the information on the screen will tell them how to contact the coroner's office.
570-277-0200. Okay, recruitment will be interesting. Remember 24/7 ssptv.com. My email, sam@ssptv.com. Thank you for the emails. Listen, those constructive ones and those people that were, a little upset at some of the things, please bring them in, and if there's something that we feel we should address and you'd like to come on the show to talk about it, like Planned Parenthood, my friends. I've been doing over 6,000 shows. 1994, I started with the Sam Lesante, but prior to that, I did many shows. I've invited Planned Parenthood on my show every time we talk about pro-life. Not one person from Planned Parenthood has accepted my invitation. And I will not put you in the corner. I'll say, hi, I'm Sam Lesante, and this is so-and-so from Planned Parenthood. Go ahead, tell us why you should kill unborn babies, or whatever your cause may be. Not once. So just so you know, for those of you who say, Sam, you're not giving Planned Parenthood an opportunity, I am giving you an opportunity. I'd love to have you on the show. See you next time.